Hello, and thank you for joining me for another IT Wire and Alex on Tech video. I'm joined today by Tim Wakeford. He's the VP of Financials Product Strategy at Workday, joining us over Skype from Singapore. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So I thought I'd just ask you, I always like to ask you people to start at the beginning. Can you just remind us of what Workday does in 2018 and how it helps businesses with HR, finance and human capital management?
Sure, no problems. So Workday is a cloud-only solution providing enterprise applications across the HR, the finance, and the analytical space for corporates. Workday was formed in 2005, so we're approaching our 13th birthday, and we are continuing to see significant growth across the world, which is why I'm talking to you now from Singapore. So listed on the US Stock Exchange. Having a good time traveling the world, speaking to lots of different customers and prospects at the moment.
Excellent. So Financials Product Strategy, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no problem. So my background is I'm a chartered accountant by background, having spent 20 plus years in the finance industry, working through recently as the CFO of an international partner of a multinational real estate organization. So I have a very heavy finance user experience. The company I was with actually implemented Workday. And I learned a lot along that journey and eventually decided to make the change into the technology space and became the VP of Finance Product Strategy at Workday. So I spend my time talking to CFOs, talking to senior finance execs, listening to them, listening to the problems that they've got, and then playing that back internally to Workday so that we're making sure that we're innovating and delivering the solutions that corporate executives in the finance space need. So I bring a real kind of practical realism to our innovation.
Sure. Well, that makes you quite valuable then to the company, no doubt. But that leads
I hope so.
Well, that also leads directly to the next question about how you and Workday see the role of finance changing. I mean, you say that the role of the CFO is evolving, and you talk about strategic value-add activities. Everybody wants to add value. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you go back, if you think about the role of the CFO traditionally, in many organizations, has been a kind of numbers-only role. So it's been, in some organizations, it's been like a stewardship function. It's a controllership function. There's been a lot of activity and a lot of focus placed on, frankly, rolling up and reporting the numbers. The consequence of that approach is that finance has, on occasions, lacked credibility in the boardroom because it's seen, in that stewardship function, is not seen as a strategic business advisor to CEOs and to boards. Now, a lot of the reason that has evolved is because finance functions have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of importance in an organization, and they haven't armed themselves often with the technology or the process or the systems in place to actually alleviate some of that burden to allow them to focus on business partnering activities. So with the disruption of business and the enterprises happening now with the digital economy, what we're actually seeing in the role of finance is a move away from that kind of static controllership, backward-looking function. World-class organizations are now starting to utilize the data that exists in their organization. So the finance function of the future is going to be very much moving into that kind of data-hungry, forward-looking business partnering role, whilst at the same time making sure that they continue to keep tight control over a company's finances. So it's very much a shift away from control and compliance to a place where they're going to be business partnering, harvesting operational data, whilst critically maintaining that control over the compliance function.
Sure. Well, I mean, that sounds like exactly what you're doing at the moment. But what are the other emerging technologies in this space that you must be working on, investigating, trying to bring to fruition, and what impact will this have on the finance function?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Now, obviously, Workday is a cloud-only vendor, cloud-only provider. So for some organizations, cloud is an emerging technology. For us, actually, we were founded in the cloud. So we're a cloud-native organization. So I'll park that slightly, and I'll actually talk about a couple of the other emerging technologies that are directly relevant to enterprise, particularly in the finance space, which is my area of expertise.
And that's what I want to hear about.
Sure, Carl. So I mean, there's broadly three that I'll touch upon, which will be RPA, so robotic process automation, the blockchain, and machine learning and artificial intelligence. So to talk of those three things, really where we are from a finance point of view at the moment is that RPA is relatively well established. It's still not that widely spread used. There's still a lot of use cases that the companies could adopt, but that RPA process is out there. It's helping companies streamline activities. It's making companies more efficient and allowing them to take resource and to apply that resource into other kind of more strategic areas.
And can I just quickly ask there, is that something that Workday is working on, RPA, or is that something that you partnering with others?
Our approach to RPA is to partner with other organizations. Typically, some of the sectors that are heavy or dependent users upon the RPA process are areas that are not strategic focus for us at this point in time. So we're actually making sure that our solution is available to partners seamlessly and effectively with the RPA vendors that do this. We have very close working relationships with them, but it's actually not an area of strategic focus from an innovation and a development perspective for us at this stage.
Sure. Okay, and so there were a couple more you wanted to mention?
Yeah, so I just want to touch briefly upon blockchain. Now, blockchain is very early days in the kind of finance ERP space, but we believe it will have an absolutely profound impact upon the future of finance. I spend a lot of my time working around the use cases, developing use cases and how that would actually impact the finance function. But again, in terms of the technology, in terms of the development, we're very much at the early stages. We're not even at crawling stages yet. But the evolution of blockchain will be a crawl, walk, run approach. But it is going to happen, and Workday is absolutely focused on this. There is an organization in the Sovereign Trust which is focused upon ensuring there is trust across the verification process that the blockchain delivers. So we're very much have a seat at the leading table on this, but it's early days and there's a lot of work still to be done, I think, on the blockchain before it really has a profound impact on finance. But I think that profound impact is inevitable. It's just a few years out.
Sure.
The area of kind of emerging tech that we spend a lot of our time, or most of our time on at the moment, which is having a real impact, is obviously around machine learning.
Yeah.
Workday, whilst we're talking here about the finance side, from an employees under management perspective, Workday has over 30 million employees across our customer base, which is big data sets. We can actually use that data, subject to the permissions being granted to us by our customers, to actually harvest insight across the Workday customer base. We provide a data as a service to our customers on an anonymous and opt-in basis, which just allows them to see real operational insight into the performance of their organization relative to their peer group. So that's one of the areas we're working on. From a procedural and a process point of view, we've had machine learning capability in the application since 2014. We started again with a similar evolution of the Workday story. The early use cases were predominantly in the HR space, but in the last couple of years, last couple of releases, we've actually been bringing bringing machine learning capability into the finance space. So we have, we're starting to use OCR recognition in our expenses now. So improving that employee engagement piece, which is core to the Workday value, making sure it's simple and easy for employees to submit their expenses, using the machine learning capabilities to actually pre-code those expenses and push them straight into the workflow. So again, that's the kind of use cases that we're seeing now, but we've got a very exciting roadmap of developments in this space that I spend a lot of time, again, thinking back to my previous role as a finance user and making sure that we've got really practical examples and we're developing stuff that's going to be a real benefit to finance functions, not just what's capable. So that's, again, it's a good insight into my role. So
are you calling any of that AI yet, or is that still one of those buzzwords that you don't necessarily want to jump on yet?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we think of it at this stage very much more in that machine learning percent. It's building the algorithms, it's putting them against data sets, it's letting the system run on multiple times and actually start to improve. And then the critical thing from a finance point of view is not just the technology for the technology's sake. It's actually what you do with it from a finance point of view. So we think quite heavily, and we're very focused on providing prescriptive information to finance users. As we think about that role of the CFO needing to become more like a strategic business advisor and they have to free up time. They're not going to get, typically in finance organizations, they're not going to be given more resource. So throwing extra heads at a problem is no longer an answer. We have to do less. So one of the things, we have to do less to free up time to focus in those kind of strategic areas. And so to do that, you need to sweat your assets further. You need to put more work into the system. You need to simplify and standardize. So the machine learning capabilities are all around prescriptive analytics. It's not just telling you what's going to happen. It's not just providing insight into something that may have gone wrong or may be about to go wrong. It's actually then taking it a step further and asking, would you like me to do something about it? So we're running machine learning in areas such as customer defaults. So if you've got outstanding invoices, we're starting to develop those use cases around predicting which customer you may want to follow up with, and would you like to book a reserve against it. They're the kinds of use cases that we're trying to do to alleviate the time pressure on the finance function.
Sure. Well, one of the other things, Tim, that you excel at Workday is the unified system of finance and HR in the same application. And I guess that's obviously one of the benefits of the cloud. You can have, you can have multiple functions in individual programs, but in the cloud, of course, you can update things and improve things on the fly very rapidly. But tell us about your advantages in this area compared to all your other competitors.
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, the whole design of Workday was around putting employees of an organization at the center of that enterprise. So it was no longer focusing on a finance function. It was no longer focusing on design, not just focusing on HR functionality. It was actually focusing on an employee. What would the employee experience be like within an organization, extending into the HR transactions and into the finance transactions? So it's a very different approach. So when we're innovating, we're focused, one of the critical lenses that we do all of our innovation through is around that employee experience, that employee engagement, whether you be a finance professional, an HR professional, or neither, someone out in the business. We want Workday to look and feel like the kind of application that all employees use kind of in their personal life, and bringing that into the corporate space. From a professional point of view, from a finance point of view, there's significant benefits in having the HR function.
Oh, it's paused there for a sec. Hang on, sorry, keep going. It just paused there. He said significant benefits in.
Yeah, there's significant benefits for a finance function in having a unified HR and finance system. You get real insight into the talent in your organization. The way that the Workday has the ability to transact and to record financial transactions with non-financial information means that you really start to understand who in your organization is driving performance. You get good visibility into talent. You can link financial performance with the relevant employees in an organization and the talent that's driving it. That's a real strategic advantage for the CFO, because it allows us to put resources towards certain individuals, in terms of compensation, that if we don't know, we're reliant upon the business, and we're subject to a little bit of bias and interpretation from operational managers. So as we think about the digital transformation, empowering data to be the basis for decision makings and moving away from intuition, there's just one area this. If you have access to that employee data, you're really starting to get a deeper insight into who's driving performance. There are other more tactical areas of benefit, things like budgeting, things like forecasting, things as simple as headcount reporting. I mean, I personally sat in many board meetings where finance would go in and I'd present a set of numbers with KPIs based off headcount, and after me would be the HR presentation, and then have a completely different set of headcounts, cue the entire board meeting to be derailed trying to work out which was the right number. So we were never talking about the stories, we'd be talking about just trying to make sure the numbers were correct. So this one version of the truth across HR and finance really does give, senior corporate executives a real strategic advantage. So it's something we're very proud of, and it's we're very proud of the technology that supports all of this. But from a user point of view, it really does make a difference to a finance function and to the head of HR, but critically to the chief executives of organization, who now have much better alignment across their two important silos of support.
So, look, you've got the Workday Rising conference coming up in about a month or so. Can you just give us a little quick sneak peek of what some of the attendees can expect?
Yes, so Workday Rising is our annual customer and prospect event. We do two a year. We do one of them for the US, which is going to be in Las Vegas this year, which I think is taking place in next month. And then one in early November is going to be Vienna in Europe. What would I expect there? So they're fantastic conferences. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of buzz, and you really get to meet the community, the Workday community, which is a big part of the Workday story. So there'll be keynote speakers. There'll be the traditional opening, I'm sure, from the owners of the company, and Neil Bussery and Dave Duffield are always on stage meeting people. Again, key part of that Workday. The Workday story is the culture and the accessibility that you have to the very most senior executives in the firm. There'll be customer stories along the way. There'll be a number of breakout sessions. And there'll be a lot of fun, I think, as well. It's a well-attended, really well-attended conference. All of our partner community are there. There's a lot of fun to be had, but there's a lot of learning to do for customers, and it's a fantastic occasion.
Great. Well, I wanted to ask you about the Australian side of the business, and we have one of your colleagues that's on the line as well. So I'm just going to unpin the video with you and introduce Daryl Drelot. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. You're going to have to unmute yourself, Daryl. And tell us. Let me just pin you. Let me just pin you. And so yeah. So the question was, how's Workday going and growing in Australia? Who are some of your customers, and how are they having success using your technologies?
Hi, good afternoon, Alex. And yes, you said my name perfectly. So you're one of a handful of people that have ever done that. So
Well,
great.
you can see from my surname that I'm used to funny
to be on the
surnames, but
call.
yeah. Is it French? Is your name
yet-
French?
It is French, yeah. You
Yeah.
got
Well, I was
it.
lucky to go to a French school from the age of 3 to the age of 18 in Canberra, so that's part of my trick. But anyway, tell us a bit about yourself and what you're doing in Australia.
Sure, thanks, Alex. Yeah, look, I am a senior strategist for financial solutions, part of Tim's team. I'm based in Sydney in Australia with a focus on the Asia Pacific and Japan region.
Yep.
And really a large part of my role is about making sure that our financials customers are evolving with us, that we're collaborating with them and working with them to make sure that they're successful. But also engaging with our prospects, making sure that our solutions align to their businesses and vice versa, and really helping to drive that momentum that we're seeing, not just within Australia, but from a global perspective as well. Just to give you a few statistics, globally, we've got more than 500 financials customers now, which has been increasing year on year by about 70%. So we're seeing tremendous momentum globally. We're seeing tremendous momentum in the Asia Pacific and Japan region, and also in Australia. So some of the customers, for example, in Australia include companies like Salmat, a marketing services company. On the financial services side, Latitude Financial Services.
We see them a lot in Australia advertising with their Alec Baldwin ads.
Exactly, yeah. Appen Butler Hill, also a linguistic services organisation, again, using both our financials and HCM solutions and seeing some great benefits and results on the back of that. And then also organisations such as Security Consulting and Garvan Institute of Medical Research.
Well, definitely some top names there. Are you going to be heading across to the conference yourself in Las Vegas?
I may well be, yes. We've got a number of prospects that are heading out there, so there's a good chance I'll be accompanying them. But very exciting event, as Tim mentioned. There'll be a lot of announcements in terms of some of our latest and greatest capabilities and areas of focus and strategy. So very, very important conference for our prospects to attend and our customers to attend, and really, really exciting to be a part of this journey.
Well, Daryl, thank you very much for that update, and I'm going to switch back to Tim now, and I'll just ask him my 3 sort of final questions about life, the universe, and everything. So thank you, and let me just escape. Yep. So I've got you back now, Tim. So look, one of my 3 questions I like to always ask towards the end of the interview is just if you can look in your crystal ball and tell us where you think Workday will be in a decade, what sort of issues you think you'll be solving. Then I know people say, oh, if I knew that, I'd be on the Bahamas with a pina colada. And yes, we all would. But even so, how do you think the next decade is going to pan out? Oh, hang on, you're muted there, so you probably have to unmute yourself. Yeah, that's all right. You're back.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Again, my crystal ball is no better than anybody else's that you asked, but I think what you'll see from an enterprise applications such as Workday in the future will be the continued harvesting of data in an organization. I think we at Workday think we're very well positioned to look into, just from the sheer volume of data that we have as a cloud solution on behalf of our customers, there's a real importance in the value of that data that we're only now starting to see. So I think if I look 10 years out from now, where will Workday be? I think it'll be a very verticalized product. I think we'll be very heavily into the sectors that we're going to choose to work in. But I think more than that, I think you'll start to see Workday evolve as a data company. And we'll really start to unlock the value in the data that exists in an enterprise. And we think we're very well positioned for that kind of market trend, which is very early days now in the enterprise. I mean, it's a pretty well-trodden path already, I think, in some of in some of the other consumer applications, and Workday sees itself very much as a kind of consumer grade application. So I think we'll look to follow that path. Again, this is a personal kind of opinion as to what I'm seeing from the conversations I'm having now. So purely a personal opinion, but I think we will see more in that space.
And I always like to just change gears completely and just ask if you could please share the best piece of advice you've ever received to help you get where you are today.
Oh, there's some standard things, believe in yourself and take responsibility, run towards problems, don't run away from. I think they're just kind of good generic things. But I think the single piece of advice that I wish I had been given, which I wasn't, was, really focus as you're going through your careers in finance. Really focus on developing leadership and general management capabilities at the expense of just core accounting and kind of traditional finance knowledge. We all start our careers as trainee accountants, and finance is a technical role. But as you get kind of into the midpoint of my career, I guess now, I wish I'd spent more time earlier on in my career developing those leadership skills, because frankly, as your career progresses, you need those a hell of a lot more than you need the kind of technical accounting questions. And there's a sharper learning curve you need to go to. So I think that focus on leadership, focus on talent management, focus on building a team around you, really understand the importance of leadership. I think they're the things that I was probably too late to realize, or not too late to realize, but I came late to the party. So I wish I'd have known that.
And I would, I guess that I would say that if you're somebody in a leadership position, then you will want to be fostering or nurturing that in your talent, so that your talent truly can be, talented.
I mean, that's the point. Succession planning is not important. It's not just important for an organization. It doesn't just safeguard an organization in case you happen to leave. It actually frees you up to go off and do different things in your organization. And, and as I've gone through kind of senior positions now, I look at other people. One of the things I judge my peers in my company and different companies. You kind of start to assess your peer group by the quality of the people that they have beneath them. So you can look at a good leader and you can spot good leaders in organizations because their teams are high performing teams. So I think that culture of leadership is all around developing a high performing team beneath you. That will start to set standards in an organization. From a leadership point of view, yes, you get recognition, but that's not really why you're doing it. It's more around that gives you a foundation to actually drive forward and develop your own career and help your business, the entity you're working to. And that's the kind of thing that we do. Again, we feel very strongly at Workday. We develop very strongly our managers, and we really look for that kind of core leadership talent in our organization.
So what's your final message for IT Wire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Understand, for those of you that are working in the enterprise space, understand the value of the cloud, understand the value that it can deliver to your organization, and really start to think about the information you need to run your business. What is the operational critical information that you need? With the cloud, with Workday, you have the ability to harvest that data and actually not just use it for insight, but you're actually taking that insight and using it for real commercial competitive advantage, whether that's just cost reduction or more efficiency, or actually using it to start to grow the top line of an organization. So the data is out there and it's time to go and get it.
Well, Tim and Daryl, I know you're on mute, Daryl, but thank you very much to you both, and best of luck. Hope to talk to you again in the future.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.